I spent my whole damn life in the city. Anywhere I go, DC's coming with me. I spent my whole damn life in the city. I can go for broke, but the capital is in me. I spent my whole damn life in the city. Anywhere I go, DC's coming with me. I spent my whole damn life in the city. I can go for broke, but the capital is in me. I spent my whole damn life in the city.
Welcome, everyone, to District Divided, a DC sports podcast. More specifically, a Washington Commanders podcast. I am Amit. That is K-Dot. Got a big show for you guys today. 4 main topics. First off, front office. It's been bolstered yet again. 2 additions in Brandon Sosna and David Blackburn. We're going to talk about both of them. Then OTAs have kicked off and have been going on for some time now. We're going to talk about our observations, what we've seen, what we've liked, what remains, and that's going to lead to the big questions that remain for us heading into training camp, heading into the upcoming season. And then Mina talked about NFL coaches that maybe are on the hot seat. And Dan Quinn's name came up. So we're going to go ahead and talk about that. Comment mailbag, as we always do after the pod. But before we begin this episode, if you could please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, comment as you always do, and K-Dot.
Share this shit. Share it. Share the shit. I mean, do I really need to yell and get all crazy and animated about it? I think everybody knows at this point. You just got to share it, man. Share this shit. But I will save my energy for a little announcement here on the pod here at the beginning of the episode, which is it's One's Man Specials Day. The co-host here of this show. Happy birthday, Amit.
I thoroughly appreciate it. It's very, very kind of you. Thoroughly appreciate it. And I would like to go ahead and say happy birthday, Adam Peters. Thank you for making this pod so much better. Right
now, I don't know what Adam Peters loves too much, but what I decided I would do is I'd put together a little thing of stuff that you like with a little happy birthday message. Mm-hmm. So I'll let it play.
You gotta be kidding.
Hang on. I'm getting something.
So
this is an emergency. I'm just getting in the Washington metropolitan area tonight. You need to be on the lookout for a coked up Indian dude that refers to himself as the A Train. Please hide your women, booze, and coke and approach like you would an earthside mammal. All right. This is an alert for anyone in the Washington metropolitan area to be on the lookout tonight for one guy who's going to be wreaking havoc. Once again, hide your women, booze, and coke, and approach like you would an earthside mammal. This is a special announcement. I don't know if this has anything to do with your birthday, but I want to make sure that you're safe while you're out there too, bud.
I guess it's just a general announcement.
Generally, it came across my phone. I had to throw it up. At least we know the share screen thing works. I could just whoo.
That is true. K-Dot, thank you so much. I love you, man. I appreciate the birthday wishes, and behind the curtain, I had no clue that was coming. So I thoroughly appreciate that and the creativity, which leads to a very smooth transition to thank Ref the District, another really, really awesome Washington Commanders podcast for having K-Dot on. Granted, you could tell just in the first 3 minutes, we have a slightly different twist to the way we do things here. But K-Dot, you were on. Nathan was awesome. Amazing host. You guys, obviously, I think everyone that watches this watches them. But it then. Nathan's fantastic. Trev was fantastic. K-Dot, you were great. If you want to just quickly talk about your experience there.
Well, thanks for saying it. I was great. I was very hard to, you can't make the coke and booze jokes over there because they're adults. So,
right. That's a good point.
But it was nice, man. It's nice always to get the word out, to spread this shit. Look, anybody that's a listener to this show, if you're on a podcast, you probably talk about our podcast, regardless of the context. So, it was all part of spreading the gospel. But those guys, they've always been lovely to us.
Yes, they have.
I'm sure we're going to have these guys, some of those guys on here soon.
Yep.
Just a great show. And as far as Commanders content out there, I'm not going to rank anything, but there's some I like and some I don't like. Ref the District is definitely a group that I like.
Definitely one that I really enjoy as well. Coming up around the same time and stuff like that. And they've always had really good takes. Always, again, much more probably respectful than you and I are when it comes to certain takes. Yeah. They're absolutely awesome. So Nathan, Trev, Stoner wasn't there, but thank you guys again for having our boy K-Dot on. Now, you guys are here for the Commanders talk. So why don't we go ahead and get into it? So we're going to go ahead and begin with a clip from Brad Holmes, general manager of the Detroit Lions. Go ahead and take a listen. Whenever you're ready, K-Dot.
Button got stuck on my mouse.
Another person I wanted to point out is Brandon Sosna. We just hired Brandon last year, so this was his first real free agency this year, and I thought he did a magnificent job. He's very intelligent, he's very creative. He's an elite communicator, and I just think that he's only going to get better. But he did a remarkable job, and then.
Yeah, and so that is Brandon Sosna, who is now going to be our senior vice president of football operations over here. I believe he's only 31 years old. A very impressive resume, and how quickly he's risen up the ranks, K-Dot. So a very exciting hire that comes from the Detroit Lions once again. And so he is going to be primarily in charge of the salary cap negotiations, roster construction, which is also a very big loaded term. Does that mean he's going to have say in who we're signing, who we're not? Probably, because he's going to be negotiating the contracts, and also monitoring the CBA and seeing what we can and cannot do. So before we get to David Blackburn, just want to give Brandon Sosna his shine. What did you make of the move, K-Dot?
I loved it, man. Sosna ends up being, as you kind of alluded to, one of the most important people within the entire building. His power is just kind of woo. The thing that really got me was he was a name that was always floating around, at least recently, from front office guys. We start getting really digging into what front offices are thought of as what and what special guys they might have. And he's almost looked as like this prodigy. The thing that really got to me was the fact that Washington also interviewed Jake Rosenberg, who to most people was like one of those top flight candidates. And he was basically the same thing for Philadelphia, working right there with Howie. They both wanted the gig. They wanted it badly. And we chose one or the other. As you even hear in that clip, something that they stress is his communication skills. So if you got a guy that's going to be a great communicator with what it is that they've been trying to do this entire offseason, just feels like another one of those perfect picks of somebody that just comes in, is one of the top in their department across the league, thought of very highly, and will gel with what it is we got going right now. I adore it.
Yeah, I do too. We'll get into the more general theme over here, because now we're going to go ahead and talk about David Blackburn, who's going to be the director of player personnel over here. I was going to say pro personnel, but player, I think, envelops the whole thing. So that's David Blackburn. And we have another clip, shout out K-Dot for finding this one, where he talks about corners. Go ahead, K-Dot.
Outside of just the physical skill set, I feel like don't treat the corner position differently than the rest of your defense. Just because, they're going to be the outside and they're covering, all these skill guys, and they got to be able to run and they got to, be athletic and all this. They still have to have that type of edge that we want, in our defense. Front seven, our safeties, they got to be physical. They got to be tough. They got to be able to tackle. They got to have an edge to them. And just because you're a corner doesn't mean you're exempt from that, And if you think of the Chris McAllisters, the Jimmy Smiths, the Marlon Humphreys,
right,
those guys have that.
And if there's one thing we know about the Baltimore Ravens, and he was with the Ravens for 17 years, as you can see from this graphic, they know how to draft corners. Like, those guys put out really, really good corners time and time again. Extends to the secondary. Look at Kyle Hamilton, a guy that we really wanted, now already an all-pro. Like, this is also another exciting hire. And K-Dot, the overarching theme for me is, what have you wanted for the longest time over here in terms of the organizational model, the front office? Go ahead.
I think the organizational model itself can differ as far as the way that it's structured, right? But I think my overarching theme above all else has been a mission statement and everyone moving in the same direction. And it's modeling, those are the principles of, like, when you look like a Baltimore Ravens and you look at play like a Raven is a thing that is set amongst Ravens players and fans, that it's just understood what that is. It's a look. When you hear play like a Raven, even if you're not a fan, there's a bunch of guys that you just immediately think of, right? Like you think about the Ed Reeds, you think about the Ray Lewises, you think about the Tony Sack, you think about everybody along the line of stuff that like they all move towards that direction as far as like what it is that our play style is going to look like.
Right.
The Patriots, do your job. I'm going to do what is asked of me. That sometimes it is a catchphrase. It makes it easier to sell. But the idea is that everyone's moving in the same direction. That everybody has an overarching sense of where it is they're going. And when I hear that clip, it's number one, I've been wanting Ravens guys over here just because I love the organization, right?
Yeah.
And when we knew that Joe Hortis wasn't coming and Mike McDonald, because it was a package deal to me,
Right.
then we found out that we had a guy who was better than all of them, Adam Peters, if we're ranking, just didn't know he was available that comes in. We're still able to still poach talent from everywhere else that I really love, right? Which is great. But when you hear that particular clip and what he's talking about, does that not absolutely mesh with everything you heard from Joe Witt and everything you've heard from Dan Quinn and everything that they're putting up on the walls all over Ashburn with Darryl Green lighting people up? Remember, I want my guys to arrive violently. Like that is to me, I want to run through a brick wall now, man. Like these guys are finding that thread. It's awesome.
This to me represents exactly what K-Dot you've been wanting for a long time. We've talked about, I think a lot of fans, and I was one of them, and actually doing this pod has really helped me grow in terms of like what to look for and things like that, the deeper levels of it, if you will. You have always harped on wanting to be like the Baltimore Ravens. You have mentioned the San Francisco 49ers in terms of their roster and their front office as being an ascending one. And now at this point, you want to be like them too. Right. So we get Adam Peters from San Francisco. Right. Yep. We get, if you could quickly show our new scout as well. Jackie Q is what we're calling him real quick because Quagliarello. Is that how we're doing it? Jack Quagliarello.
Jackie Q. Gotcha.
Jackie Q. We're just going to stick with Jackie Q. Another young guy, by the way, that Adam Peters.
Jackarello.
Jackarello. We can go Jack. I think Jackie Q's got a nice ring to it.
Jackie Q is it, man.
Why don't we go ahead and stick with that? But that's another San Francisco guy, right, K-Dot? So we've got now multiple people from San Francisco. We've got David Blackburn from the Baltimore Ravens. We've got Lance Newmark and now Brandon Sosna from the Detroit Lions. And you could make the case that if I were to put together a list, and we're going to get to lists with Mina Kimes in a bit here. If I were to make a list of rosters and I went, which ones are the best? You could make the case that Detroit, Baltimore, San Francisco, let's exclude Kansas City just because Mahomes is a god, as we know, are right there near the top, right? And so now we're plucking guys from each of those places so that we can build a really good roster that helps in the long term, that there is that aligned vision that Adam Peters has talked about, that Dan Quinn has talked about, that Josh Harris has talked about. Once again, we're going to get to Mina Kimes. Like it, I'm sorry, man. I texted K-Dot and I was like, buddy, I cannot believe what I'm hearing. So just a bit of a tease for that segment, but we are building the right way. These are adults in the room. This is an organization that wants to be taken seriously. When you look at the salary cap space that we've had, this is an expansion team on steroids, and you see the roster turnover, largest since World War II. Like, this is a brand new team. I'm very, very excited for it. Any final thoughts, get up before we move on to OTA observations?
I think that it's a two-pronged thing that makes me so excited about it. Is number one, they're constructing the organization in the best structural way I think I've ever seen since hearing about what they did during Joe Gibbs, Cashley, and Bobby Beathard and stuff back in the 80s, right? I haven't seen this structure from this organization the way that it is right now. There's no savior complex necessarily, right? So that feels good that they're building a system. Systems are always better than people in general, right? Like, but then the cherry on top is that we're getting all the best people. It's like, it's not the era of, I know Ref the District, Nathan made it doesn't feel Jim Zorn like, which is like, we're stuck with this guy. Right. Nobody else wants to be here. We're stuck with this. Or you're trying to make the most out of whatever it is that anybody wants. Adam Peters was not answering calls to anyone. He came here. you look at the rest of these front offices, we're turning down Eagles scouts and personnel because we can rank them now the way that we want to. It's the pick of the litter, which makes it feel fucking awesome. But I will say it also does. You get these best guys, you get this. It's pressure. Trust me, I'm looking at these motherfuckers like you got pressure on you. Yeah, but I'm so glad to see that Adam Peters is not willing to write some damn checks and to do them in the right way.
Yeah, completely agree there. So why don't we go ahead and move on to OTA observations, where once again, there have been a handful of practices at this point, and our beat reporters are out there. And I remember rookie minicamp, for example, they were like, hey, this is the largest media presence we've seen here in quite some time. The buzz is electric. You see players like, yelling, screaming together as they're running and warming up and getting the juice out and stuff like that. And then the veterans come in. Now you see John Allen. Now you see Terry McLaurin. You see Tress Way sporting a number 10, stuff like that. K-Dot, what observations have you had from OTAs so far?
There's one big takeaway that all right, we talked about a little bit last week, which is like let me back up. The coaching aspect of it and seeing all the guys kind of rah-rah-rahing, I've loved. To see Cliff Kingsbury, all these dudes getting really, really involved with everything and look like they're having fun doing it. It kind of follows that through line to what we heard them from the press conferences is there are coaches that want to coach. They want to teach. They want to mold these guys. That's the vibe I'm getting more than anything. It doesn't feel managerial. It feels like teaching. Like this feels good to me. And then a second component to that would be the teaching as far as like a lot of what has been the most positive stuff that I've seen is the veteran presence on the team at certain key positions, especially like Bobby Wagner. You have Sam Cosme already being able to learn on day 1 or day 2 from Bobby Wagner. You're wondering, what the fuck did they teach you, bro? Like, it's just, that's cool. And then there was the moment that happened, which I know it rubs some people the wrong way, but I don't care, is the Bobby Wagner, Jeremy Reeves exchange that happened with the at the presser that Bobby Wagner was giving.
Yeah.
Where Reeves is kind of acting up a little bit and Reeves, you can, it's time to grow up. It's time to grow up. Reeves, yeah. I am grown. And I like that it looks as though the players are challenging each other. And we're not going to have an Eric Bieniemy have to step in moment with that bullshit, which I hated last year.
Yeah.
They're letting a team be a team, and they're constructing a team in which you got guys that can actually teach. I adore it.
Yeah, it's absolutely awesome. Jayden Daniels has looked very, very good so far, which is great, right? Like that's exactly what you need to see, right? Does it look like he has the potential to be worthy of the number 2 overall pick? So
kind of hope he looked worse.
What'd you say? You kind of hoped he looked worse?
I kind of hoped he looked worse. It's just feeling as though Mariota's got no shot.
Right. In terms of what we've wanted. And so for those that are maybe new to this channel, we want Marcus Mariota to start day 1 because it allows the offensive line to gel. It allows the team to get chemistry. We're going to get into big questions remaining in a moment, but we want to give Jayden as much time as possible. And it's not necessarily learning from Marcus Mariota. It's about giving him the time off the field and saving his body from the hits to be able to get to know his teammates, see them in a game week, see how they prepare, things like that, and still be able to develop the chemistry off the field that helps you on the field. So that's where K-Dot and I have been coming from. And to K-Dot's point, Jayden looks magnificent right now. Now, that's in no pads. That's in shorts. Again, we're going to get to big questions remaining. But I just wanted to state Jayden Daniels has looked really good. Yeah. Bobby Wagner's leadership has been awesome. I think on the Jeremy Reeves thing, I think it was just banter. I didn't read into that. I think it's totally fine. It's just teammates being teammates, in my opinion. Like, even if it's mild at best. So I was totally fine with that. It seemed like they were joshing a little bit, and Bobby's like, hey, I am the dude, though, just to be clear. But I was fine with it. Go ahead, K-Dot.
Yeah, no, it's not I think some people are reading it as I'm not reading any more into it other than they're allowing a hierarchy of a team to exist and to work itself out. Like that to me is said, yes. Yeah, like that to me is what it is. It's not like when I hear last year, which I always go back to that moment, when I hear like Terry getting on somebody on the defense, that's one of your leaders. Let him go out there and lead and try to, he has to have a voice here. You don't need to get involved in that. And I love seeing those little moments of friction. Conflict is not bad as long as you resolve it properly.
Correct.
Like that's the thing is like, I just don't think there's been enough conflict here. There's not been enough people challenging each other to get better. That's what I want to see. I keep hearing from everybody how everybody's a great communicator, which is what I want to hear. Great communicators means that we can have tension, we can have conflict, and we're going to be better because of it. That's what I want to see.
And I'm not only going to agree with you, I'm going to double down on it. Remember how we said that this is the largest roster turnover since World War II? Like, it's been a while, 60, 70 plus years now. 70, 80 plus years now. Shit. I'm just doing the math in my head. Yeah, no shit. They better be arguing because they're all getting to know each other. This is literally the first time a lot of these guys have even played together and hung out together. So you want there to be friction early on. You want it to happen in May and in June, not in September and October. So celebrate these stories. Want this to happen so that by the time training camp comes around, we're ready to rock. By the time the preseason comes around, we're ready to rock. And by the time week 1 comes around, we are ready to rock. For those of you that have participated in sports growing up or at the collegiate level, heck, even at the pro level, this is necessary. This is part of growing as a team. So this, I'm very, very happy is happening. So I just wanted to double down on what K-Dot's saying there, because this is, again, expansion team on steroids. But, and if we could transition to big questions remaining now, that is one of the questions I have, is that as exciting as it is, K-Dot, new always comes with exciting. We know that from the Yacht Bitch days. That's Snyder for those that are new. There needs to be chemistry developed. How quickly can we do it?
Right.
Because again, this is getting used to playing next to somebody takes time. I don't care how good you are. It takes a lot of time. And so that's where it comes down to the coaches. Are they able to make sure these guys mesh quickly? So not to completely put a damper on everything, but these are questions, right? A ton of new people. It's a brand new coaching staff. They know each other. That's great. But will the players be able to figure it out quickly? So that's my first question. K-Dot, well, your reaction to that? We can go back and forth here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with anything you're saying. Yeah, of course. The how fast these guys are going to kind of get on the same page. How long is it going to take for us to hear what it is they're saying off the field as far as that mission statement on the field? How far along do we need to go before we feel that those guys know we're all moving in the same direction, right? Because look, you look at the defense every year, the last how many years? How many times have we said they do not like they're on the same page? They do not look like they're on the same page. They do not look like they're on the same page. Offensively, there's no reason Terry McLaurin should be coming off the field saying, I just ran a cardio. Like, he's not a part of anything.
Ever.
Right? So, like, the cohesiveness of that is going to be paramount. And it takes time, right? So, like, it'll absolutely take time. It's just how long? That's all I'm curious about. It's just how long, right?
Right.
Yeah, I don't disagree with anything you said.
Yeah. So that's one question I have. And then, of course, the glaring hole, another elephant in the room, the offensive line, right? So we have Tyler Biadasz now, which is great. The hope is that Brandon Coleman, 3rd round pick, is good enough immediately that he can start, just so that there's, a new face at the left tackle position, which a lot of people really want. So, and it's a draft pick. You want as many of these draft picks to work out quickly, which would be great. But there's still, and Nick Allegretti's new as well. Sam Cosmi, I think a lot of people trust. You look at his PFF grade, it's good. We had pointed out that Bobby Wagner very quickly figured out how Sam Cosmi can play, how he pulls, stuff like that. So the telegraphing, you want to see that. But it's also, this is a question for Bobby Johnson, right? Offensive line coach. There were some questions about his hiring. We were doing a lot of new stuff, a lot of exciting stuff, but can he step up? Can he make sure that this unit is playing cohesively very, very quickly? There are going to be questions about Cliff Kingsbury, right? Like, it's an exciting time. Of course, the Arid Kyler had a really good rookie year, but after that, they were fine. So not just to say Kyler's rookie year. Kyler's a good quarterback, rookie, sophomore, etc. There were some injuries, but there are questions about Cliff Kingsbury. So the offensive side, I think we'll have more questions than the defensive side, ironically, considering just how bad the defense was last year. Would you agree with that, K-Dot, or disagree?
I agree. The defense to me is one glaring question, but I'd want to follow up on the two offensive things that you just said.
Go for
more
it.
than anything. The offensive line is the single biggest question.
Yeah.
We've also, at least from this fan base, it's the single biggest question. I've been trying my best to be as measured on this as possible because I remember how wrong I was about Carson Wentz and other things. I am putting it here right now. I'm staking this flag. The offensive line is better than anybody's giving credit for. I know people want to get. There's one name in particular that I know is the most polarizing name on the offensive line. It was Charles Leno. Now it's Andrew Wiley. And I think the Andrew Wiley thing is if you look at his PFF grade, you're like, well, it's not that bad. And usually you look at the PFF grade and most of his fan base is like, man, F that. He sucks. And then they show the same highlight reel of him getting blown, getting smoked. And there's no doubt there were a few plays he absolutely got smoked. And unless your name is fucking Trent Williams, I'm sure I could put some tape together to show that you probably got smoked one or two times. Okay. I think a lot of the play calling last year, combined with Sam Howell's pressure to sack ratio, which was also bad in college, combined to make it the worst possible case scenario for a situation. They had an offense that was telegraphed everything they did. Everything they did. Bobby Wagner, tell Sam Cosmi, I see what you're doing.
Day one.
I know. Right? Like, to me, it's like, I don't think these guys have been properly coached in a while. I don't know. Like, yes, my question is, how good are they? How good are they? It is a legitimate question. But if I would have staked anything, I'm saying it's better than we're giving it credit for. I just want to know for sure. And if the answer is yes, this process is going to be a little faster than we all thought it was going to be. Mm-hmm. The Cliff Kingsbury piece, everyone wants to keep saying air raid. He wants to tell everybody it's not what I'm doing. He's like, I'm doing my own thing. I think the Cliff Kingsbury, Anthony Lynn combo to me is the most interesting coaching combination on the team. Yeah. I adore Anthony Lynn. I adore the rushing attacks that they got to put together. I think this offense, the big question to me is what the fuck does this offense look like? Mm-hmm. Is the amount of Swiss Army knife players that they got on this roster? The amount of they're saying we're seeing a lot of no huddle and stuff when it comes to the
Brian
OTA
Robinson
stuff.
mentioned that, yeah.
Dude, it could be scary hours for the rest of the league. I just want to see it. But my big defensive question is, and this is not to be mean, this is not to Emmanuel Forbes. What's happening? So we're hearing more and more that he's doing he was on punt return team.
Yep.
He's
returning kicks. Yep.
I will say this, going back to that draft, when I hear Joe Witt talk, when I hear Dan Quinn talk, when I hear now David Blackburn talk, it sounds like they're describing Christian Gonzalez and not Emmanuel Forbes.
Well, the whole league was also describing Christian Gonzalez at that pick.
Well, I think that they were just so eager for a playmaker. They thought hey, here's a guy that's going to intercept. We just got to get that playmaker. But without proper coaching or a system to allow him to make plays in, you're not going to be able to do anything with that. But it's if the answer to what are we going to be as a defense is I want guys acting violently, being physical, getting there. I can look through this roster and say, I'm really wondering where Forbes will end up. I like Emmanuel Forbes. I think that he could be something in this league, but I think we're going to have to really switch in our brain what that looks like come to actual game time.
Yeah, it seems like this is also, remember how the QB that we were going to take a pick to was quite divisive. You liked May or you liked Daniels or you liked McCarthy, and all of a sudden you're not allowed to like anybody else and you have to shit on everybody else. Right. Something quite similar is happening with Emmanuel Forbes. Other people are like, hey, ball hawk, defensive back, Joe Witt, think about Trayvon Diggs, think about Deron Bland, right? Therefore, Emmanuel just works. So and he's a first round pick. So that's one side. And the other is this guy sucks. This guy can't do anything. His confidence is totally shattered. He is now useless. There doesn't seem to be much of an in-between space of he can go through some growing pains this season. And at the tail end of it, almost similar to a renewed rookie year, if you will, what we want to see from Jayden Daniels is a good second half of the season. That's where I'm beginning to think in terms of Emmanuel Forbes is like, okay, maybe it takes him a little longer because that was a scarring rookie year. And that is not talked about enough, right?
Yeah, no
Very
doubt.
scarring. So it's going to take time to build the confidence back up. But I also believe in the talent once the confidence is there. And I do think he can be very, very useful in this defense. It may not be week one, is sort of my thinking. Go ahead, K-Dot.
Let me clarify. This is not me having some grandiose opinion on the talent level of Emmanuel Forbes.
Correct.
This is me talking about the physicality.
And I was speaking more to just the fan base in general.
Yeah. All right. So I'm more saying when I was doing the comparison as far as the Gonzalez compared to Emmanuel Forbes, it's just the physicality.
Mm-hmm.
When you hear Blackburn in that clip I played talk about they need dudes that can tackle.
Yep.
They need dudes that are going to be able to, like the rest of the defense, go in there and make the damn tackle. Like that's the priority. Forbes is not the first person that comes to mind. It's just not been his style necessarily. So I think that is going to be, if he can learn that piece, and he's got great teachers to make it happen, sky's the limit.
Yep.
It's going to take some work and it's going to take some patience.
Yeah. So just to summarize the big questions that we had over there, it's the offensive line, of course. We've talked about that. Cliff Kingsbury, we want to see what this looks like, how he works with Anthony Lynn, right? Which is a good point, K-Dot. Anthony Lynn, known for his run schemes.
Yep.
And Cliff Kingsbury, currently known for the air raid, and he is continuously pushing back, saying that's not what this is going to be. We're going to figure it out together. You listen to Joe Widge Jr. in his intro presser. He talks to the offensive coordinator. This is what works against us. This is what doesn't. This is what you should probably think about, that interaction. And then Emmanuel Forbes. What is he going to be this coming season? We agree that he's very talented. Can he be what this coaching staff is looking for? Can he be coached into being what this coaching staff is looking for when talking about physicality? Is that fair to say, K-Dot?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Those are the big questions remaining. And now we move over to Mina Kimes, who, of course, has a show. One of the smartest people when it comes to football.
Get your pleasantries out of the way so you can share all over.
Okay, cool. Just play the clip, K-Dot.
Dan Quinn did not make my top 5, but he could. If there is one coaching hire this year, right, who might be the one and done, it would be him. I do not believe he was their first choice. I also
what gave that away?
I'm very nervous about the situation that Jayden Daniels is walking into behind that offensive line. And if it looks bad, to me, new ownership, I could see him getting the axe. So he's on the hot seat.
Well, so the other thing about Dan Quinn is if he's going to be a victim of his own success, if Jayden Daniels looks good, because people are going to want that job in a way they didn't want it 3 months ago. There were people calling Adam Peters saying, just so you know, it might be available this year.
Okay. So that was the clip. I'm going to begin with Kevin Clark. This yes and bullshit is dumb. You're smarter than that. This Dan Quinn being a victim of his own success. Let's walk through that for a moment, K-Dot. If Jayden Daniels were to play well, would Dan Quinn be on a hot seat? Simple question for you.
Do you want to answer it as myself, or am I trying to shoot bail for Kevin Clark?
No, answer as yourself. Just honestly, if Jayden Daniels has a good year, do you think Dan Quinn? Okay. So there's that. Not first choice. Let's move over to Mina for a moment. And Kevin Clark going, what gave that away? That's a good question, Kevin. What the fuck gave that away? Because, and guys, this is where you support local, if you will. These people cover football for a living. Mina Kimes on NFL Live every single day, right? How do you not know that when you listen to John Keim, our Oracle God on this podcast, that he was our first choice? Like he was clearly our first choice. The thinking is that Ben Johnson backed out because he knew he wasn't going to be the choice and thought it would be humiliating. So he got ahead of it by saying, no, I actually am not interested. We know this. We know it. New ownership might axe Dan Quinn. Based on what? This man, Josh Harris, over at the Philadelphia 76ers, you know what they criticize him for? Being too patient. So how is he suddenly going to flip the script in a situation where Dan Quinn has brought in Anthony Lynn, Joe Witt Jr., Cliff Kingsbury, Brian Johnson, like all these people have come because of him. Bobby Wagner has come because of him. Why the fuck would we fire this guy after 1 year, no matter how it goes? It makes zero sense. It was very frustrating to hear because I know a lot of people listen to me. That's the frustrating part. It's one thing if this comes from national TV heads, like, Skip Bayless, for example, Cowboys fan who they focus on the Cowboys. Stephen A focuses on the Cowboys. Other people that talk about basketball as well, or hockey as well, or that's one thing. Or just your run of the mill pocket. Fine. Guys, let's be fucking better than that. Like, this is just, it reeks of Yacht Bitch is still in charge. And this could not be further from the truth. I was very frustrated hearing about this because it feels like we've turned a corner. And here we are yet again. I don't get where this came from. I don't know how you can see everything here, which to me means you haven't, and come away with this conclusion that it is actually a possibility. Sorry, I just wanted to throw that in the show. Go ahead, K-Dot.
I think it comes from a place of hurt.
Yes.
Look, I love Mina Kimes and I love Kevin Clark, and I don't think any less of them because of this. But I think everything gets derived from one particular fallacy, or what I consider to be a fallacy on their end.
Ben Johnson thing.
It's the Ben Johnson thing. So it's everything is from that. It's when you look through the list of coaches and everything else. I had Dan Quinn high. I had Raheem Morris high. Other people did not have those guys high because they thought that they were retreads. They thought the Mike McDonalds, the Ben Johnsons, the young up-and-coming guys were the cream of the crop. And if the idea is they get the inkling because of the Ben Johnson thing and because McDonald goes somewhere else, that they chose not to come here. They didn't want to come here. And not that the Commanders were going through their process and they had who it is that they wanted to get. They just don't buy that. And I get it. Because look, one of the reasons I loved the Dan Quinn Raheem Morris thing was that it felt as though it was a departure from what everybody else was kind of doing. And when you do something like that, because I mean, you've talked about building a roster, building a franchise and everything, and you're one of those people that love the idea of the young coordinator upstart, right?
Absolutely.
Right. So I think that if you start from that point and that's what you believe in, and also because, look, I did another podcast where I did international sports stuff. You can never deep dive enough on any one of these teams or anything to be an expert on any of them. You can't do it. There's not enough time in the fucking day. So if you have that as far as what it is, your initial standpoint is, and you try to move from that, I can understand it. It's just that what you do when you're talking about these people, there's a difference between journalists and analysts and just talking heads. I appreciate their thought processes on things. I disagree with them a lot. And especially if they're going to get nitty gritty on something that I think I know more than they do on.
Yeah. See, my thing is, because I like the analytically driven conversations.
Mm-hmm.
Mina's one of those people. So like when I hear this from her, someone that covers the NFL, you're not covering the history of football. You're not covering the UFL or whatever it's called now, or like the football origins. You were covering the NFL.
Yeah.
That's your job, man, is to know exactly. I know it's hard to dive in, but it's so quickly and is so freely available that Ben Johnson was not the first choice. I got frustrated here.
I don't think that's
true.
I
came from a place of the past. I think it is.
I get it.
But maybe anyway. I was ticked off. This is K-Dot's birthday present to me. It was like, fine, we could throw this in the show. I was like, yeah, throw it in there.
Just one more point. What have we said has been one of the things that we applaud this particular new administration for more than anything else? There's no leaks.
Correct.
There's no juicy details.
Overall pick. We don't know.
There's no juicy details. There's nothing, right? But you're doing a show. They're doing a show in which they're coming up with the hot seat thing. And they're looking through the NFC East. If you believe that Ben Johnson truly said no, and that was their number one candidate, everything else that they say from an analytical standpoint can make sense.
Sure.
I'm
just asking them to do better. That's it.
I would say that I hope that there are people that criticize them for it and they can learn from it and maybe dive a little deeper, but I would never.
I was just frustrated with the take.
I will never be that hot with when it gets, because I know what it's like to try to talk about that many things.
Sure.
And you have to be opinionated sometimes.
Guys, listen to all sorts of sports.
Well, we don't do a show anymore. But it was
Listen to previous episodes of all sorts
yeah,
of
no
sports.
shit. And you can hear some of the dumbest shit you will ever hear. And look, it happens all the time. You watch First Take, and then 2 days later you hear, you're like, damn.
That's true.
Anybody gonna hold them accountable for that? It's like,
But those are known sensationalists. Like Mina's not one of them.
She's not, I don't think. All right, do you really think what she said was that sensationalist, or you're just taking it to heart?
I'm taking it to heart.
Right. It's what she tries it,
and therefore it's sensationalist in this heart of mine. Okay.
Right.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Wasn't that crazy?
I'm sorry. Turns out the kid still got some juice. Okay. What? Any final thoughts before we go to the before we go to the comment mail back here, bud?
Yeah, really. A-Train just needs to watch Mina climbs clips.
That apparently is the supply.
I love Mina and I love Kevin. I love both of them a lot.
I appreciate them. That's where I'm currently at. That's about as far as I could go right now. We're gonna go ahead and go to the comment mailbag. As we always do. K-Dot, thanks for throwing that in the show. I just needed to vent a little bit. I appreciate it.
No problem, brother.
And also shout out my grandmother, Nanima, who literally on the phone with me today, we were chatting. She was like, you know what I need you to do? And I kid you not, K-Dot, this is two separate statements that occurred. She said, you just need to take command. You need to be a commander. She straight up said that. And I was like, that was actually no football context, nothing. It was about something else, but she was like, you just need to take command. You need to be a commander. So I really had no choice but to do that. That could be an after the pod sometime. Again, we're going to the comment mailbag here, where we have probably a handful of comments, a couple new commenters, and I think courtesy of your appearance on Ref the District. So shout out to them, and we'll get to them in a moment. But we got to begin with the OG. Tony. Shout out, Tony. I'm staying away from Coke and buying more Bitcoin. That is what Tony has to say. Any reaction to Tony buying up the Bitcoin right now?
I can't say I necessarily agree or disagree. I know there might be some people that do. I'm going to leave it at that.
We go over to Vindo. Shout out Vindo, another OG of the program here. Onward to the season, baby. Let's fucking go. Ant-Man is that dude, in reference to Anthony Edwards, of course, who now the Wolves down 1-0 seem to be in a must-win spot tonight against the Mavericks. That's going to be an awesome series all the way through, in my opinion, K-Dot.
I love these matchups. I think people still got to remember Anthony Edwards is 22 years old.
It's nuts.
He should stink more than he has. He hasn't had some great games recently. And that's par for the course. He should be learning. He doesn't. He's not Kobe with Shaq next to him. Like there should be some growing pains. It's to be expected. But the fact that they got past Denver to me is already put that motherfucker in the history books.
This season has already been wildly successful for the Timberwolves because to get past the defending champs, beating them 3 times out of 4 on their home floor in Denver with the altitude, stuff like that, including a Game 7 comeback, the largest in history. I would say Minnesota's picked up a lot of amazing experience, and they're still this series is live. It's only 1-0, and they've proven they can win on the road. If Luka, Kyrie on the other side, I'm excited for it.
Rudy Gobert is overrated.
We move on to Vindo's second comment. Shout out, Vindo. Stream East, if you know, you know. And this would be in reference to K-Dot's frustration trying to find certain things to watch.
Yeah, but the first 3 links didn't work.
Well, that's what the fourth one's for, K-Dot. We then go over to Dennis, 2782. Shout out, Dennis. Splitting the NFC East would be best. So again, actually, for full context, guys, the last episode was our way too early predictions game by game. So when he mentioned splitting the NFC East, that would be, of course, 3-3 against the Philadelphia Eagles, Dallas Cowboys, New York Giants. Splitting the NFC East would be best. No way we sweep anyone. So we're not sweeping Dallas. We're not sweeping the Giants. We're not sweeping the Eagles. Home fields mean nothing. 2023, the Bears 40-20 against Washington at home. For some reason, we do better on the road. I will take us at the Eagles. I will take us at Eagles home. Okay. 2022 Lions is what we need to be. Start slow end strong. So not this past year's Lions that go to the NFC Championship game, but the one prior where you can really see some momentum. They ended that season, of course, winning at Lambeau in Aaron Rodgers' last game as a Green Bay Packer, ending their season. So that is sort of what Dennis is saying would be a great season. Do you agree with that, K-Dot?
Yeah. Yeah, we could. I mean, we could be Lions in the sense of like, hey, these guys are working hard. They're in every game and they're trending in the right direction. That would be absolutely. The only thing is that I don't want to be held accountable for anything I said that last episode.
Oh yeah, it's way too early.
So like I've already forgotten about it.
Yeah. Well, we get a couple reminders here. So we'll go and get into those. Another one from Dennis, and this is now in reference to Dan Quinn wearing the shirt, right, with a couple feathers on the W. Dan Q has balls. Love it. Remember, we were the Boston Braves in 1932. Yeah, Atlanta Braves with the tomahawk. Dan Q with feathers and gets shit. Are you fucking kidding me? Media, F you. I'm in on anything but the Commanders. I liked the Washington football team. So it seems like Dennis is in favor of a rebrand there, K-Dot. Once again, I don't care what we're called. I just want to win.
So, yeah, doesn't matter to me.
All right, cool. Then we go over to Just Be.
I don't like the uniforms.
What color scheme don't you like?
I don't love any of them. The black ones have kind of grown on me, but I'm not a fan. I don't like the white ones at all. But the name, everything else, the color scheme, all that, cool. I just don't like our jerseys.
Fair enough. I kind of like well, that's a separate conversation. We're running up against a hard stop. So Just Be 327, and shout out Dennis for the comments there. Just Be 327, your way too early predictions is sad, bro. Ron is not here anymore. We're 17-0 unless otherwise. That is a way too early prediction. Upon reflection, Just Be, you are 100% correct. We did it wrong. How are we not going 17-0 in May? That is the time to go 17-0. Just Be, you absolutely nailed that comment. Appreciate that. Then we go to HTTR dot the name. Yeah, I'm going to be sensitive to the folks. 5-11-1 season. 1-5 in our division with the Cowboy win. We have no answer for Malik Neighbors and the Giants defensive line. Another sad season. Expect concussion protocol for our quarterback. Oh boy. Well, I don't want to expect it. I also don't want it to happen, obviously. Hopefully, K-Dot is correct that, once again, with Eric Bieniemy, we threw the ball more than anybody else in the NFL. We were letting people know when we were throwing in the form of playing football. It was every play, basically. So the hope is that with Anthony Lynn here as well, we're running a bit more. We're protecting our quarterback through running, and it allows a cleaner pocket as he goes. Need I remind everybody, Jacoby Brissett, in his short time playing quarterback in the third quarter, fourth quarter of those final few games, that ball was coming out quick and it was coming out nicely. People were getting involved. Go ahead, K-Dot.
Yeah, it's what goes back to the play calling thing. Like if I'm going pressure to sack ratio, does Jayden give me a lot more hope than Sam? Probably not, but he's more mobile. The play calling was atrocious.
It's really, really bad. We go over to Astute Chaos. What a name. Love that. Shout out Astute Chaos. At the 1640 mark of the last video, fuck the Bears. They talking reckless on the internet. This was in reference to, I wanted that to be a primetime game. K-Dot admittedly correctly said no one gives a shit about that game except for us. I agreed and disagreed simultaneously. And that's where we are. But Astute Chaos is on my side. He's like, yo, fuck these guys. Let's go.
Yeah, keep trying to make something out of this, guys. Yeah, I'll give you credit. We'll keep a fuck the Bears watch or something on this thing. Although I will say, looking at training camp videos, whatever, or OTA videos, Caleb looks good.
Caleb does look good. There was also that report that he had a really rough day. Now, I again don't read into that just because it's May and you're allowed to do whatever you want to do. We'll see. It's an exciting NFL season coming up. I'm very excited for it. We go over to Jess Anto. Shout out Jess Anto. At this point, I mean, I don't know about OG, but G minimum.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Here comes Jess Anto with his comment. Oh, fuck, where's my water? Okay. Water's over there. Yeah. All right. Cool shirt, bro. Dan Quinn is not Ron Rivera. He doesn't seem to do anything without planning or at least thinking about it first. That was completely intentional, and I believe it got the desired result he was looking for. He's in the process of establishing a culture and creating excitement around this team. This fan base has been through a lot, from decades of losing to the constant bullshit from ownership to the crappy stadium and the name change. Crappy, of course, in quotes, because of the pipes that almost hit Jalen Hurts over there. I'm pretty sure Quinn is aware of the fact that there is a huge resentment towards the new name. If you look at the comments section, it seems like half of the fan base can't get over it, and they are still clamoring for the old name to return. Just by wearing that t-shirt, he got a ton of attention from that segment of the fan base who seem to pay a lot of attention to the team but refuses to support them until the old name returns. Bit of a play for some of the fans that do care about the name. One of the biggest crimes of the Snyder regime was the treatment of the alumni. He took care of a few pet favorites but cast the rest away. Harris and co. have been doing an excellent job of mending the relationships with our past players and greats, making them feel valued and welcomed again. That shirt also had a resoundingly positive response from that group as well. Quinn said he's a people person, and right now he's trying to get as many people to buy into this new iteration of the team and get them excited about it. Mission accomplished, Dan. Quinn. I personally call them Washington. To this day, I have some sort of mental block from calling them the Commanders. I don't know if it's the length of the name, a little resentment, sounds too much like salamander, or whatever it is. But I have a feeling that once this monster they are building starts kicking some ass, most fans won't have any issues getting behind the name with a sense of pride. It does fit the DC area. Washington himself, the underutilized band and fight song better than Redskins did. Washington Commanders just rolls off the tongue like a brick. There are far worse names in the league, though, and people just need to embrace it and move on. We could start saluting each other, dress like Captain Crunch at games, and really get wild with it. That's the fun part. Share this shit. Kid, I'm about to drink some water. Jess Santo, appreciate the comment there. Go ahead.
No doubt. That might have been one of my favorite comments I have ever read, or not read.
You didn't read it.
Read to me. That is a measured response with all showing the so like I've been trying to stay away from my personal feelings on it because I don't really give a shit like all that much. Does the Commander's name roll off your tongue? No, it doesn't. But there's no name that's going to roll off the tongue all that well. Washington football team, when I first heard it, was like, call them Washington football team. And then after a minute, it was like, yeah, it's fine. It's whatever. Commander is still kind of hard to say, but yeah, I just think a winning product will have people look at it differently, and we might embrace it differently. It's just about what's happening on the field. I'd like to, of course, I think personally, I'd like to see some things change. I just don't have it as a priority. I don't care about it. I do not care about it as much as I care about some other stuff.
Yeah. I also really appreciated the comment beginning with, hey, this is historically where we've been, right?
Right.
This is why Dan Quinn did what he did. And then also the rally cry from Jess going, hey, but ultimately we're all about the wins, right? Like if we really get going, that's what matters. And I think he really hit the nail on the head with that one.
No doubt.
So shout out, Jess, as always, for an awesome comment there. And then we conclude with, I want to say a new commenter, but maybe commented once or twice before, but definitely recognized you, K-Dot, on the live stream with Ref the District. And once again, just a quick shout out to them. I was in the comment section just watching, and it was really fun to be part of the comment section. I was talking to Locked On Law. We've read Locked On Law's comments a few times and stuff like that. It's cool getting to know some of the people. This is from Allison Lombard. Appreciate you, Allison. Hyatt and Robinson can play. This is from an Eagles fan. And so that's the comment over there. Appreciate that, Allison. Now, the one thing I was trying to figure out, K-Dot, so Hyatt, the only name that comes to mind for me is Jalen Hyatt, unless I'm completely blanking.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's who I thought of.
Right. But then Robinson can, of course, I would assume be Brian Robinson, but it could also be, I mean, Lord knows anybody. But it's from an Eagles fan. So I didn't know if it was like, you see what I'm saying? I was trying to find the connection all the way through. Wendell Robinson. Oh, okay, cool. Right. Because we were talking about the Giants wide receivers. Appreciate that. Yeah, there you go. Wendell Robinson and
I was being hyperbolic because I like Daniel Jones most, and I think other people do. Like,
we know.
I'm being hyperbolic, but overall, I will say that I don't love the direction the Giants have gone in. There are a couple of key pieces. I just haven't seen them put it together. Even defensively, I like Kayvon Thibodeau a lot.
Yeah, he's good, man.
It's just they haven't really pieced it all together to actually do something. I don't believe in the coaching stuff.
Was Kayvon Thibodeau the one that did the snow angel in front of a writhing Nick Foles? Was that him? Remember, he sacked somebody and just started doing snow angels.
Remember that.
And I think it was Nick Foles that is just in like tremendous pain.
I think that is the case.
Oh man. But Allison, shout out for the comment. Apologies, I did not immediately pick up. I did not remember what it was in reference to. But yeah, I think Wan'Dale Robinson, Jalen Hyatt, some underrated weapons for the New York Giants. And of course, Malik Neighbors is over there. Very electric wide receiver.
Underrated.
You think they're rated? You think they're rated properly? Okay.
I mean, I just think they got to do stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's fair. But that was the show in the Common Mailbag. This was District Divided, a DC sports podcast, more specifically a Washington Commanders podcast. Thank you guys so much for listening to today's episode. And if you enjoyed it, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, comment as you always do. Great Common Mailbag today. And K-Dot?
Share this shit. Share it.
Please.
Happy birthday.
Oh, thanks, bud. Appreciate it. And again, happy birthday to Adam Peters as well. But K-Dot, once again, really appreciate the love there. After the pod, which may only be 30 seconds, begins right now.
I don't know where the after the pod thing went.
That's fine. We will just pretend
there
this is it. Oh, hey, we did it.
I just gotta get rid of that thing.
Oh, that's fine.
There.
Ooh, man, hell of a show. Hell of a show. That was a blast. That was a blast. And especially for the offseason, right? Because there's only so much to talk about, but we managed to get a pretty loaded set of topics there.
I feel like I cheated a little bit.
In what sense?
I did most of this on Ref the District. Like it was like
So anybody that didn't listen got to hear you again. I guess they got my thing, rant. So they get that.
But here's the thing. The Mina Combs thing was good. And what I tried to do was not say the same things I said on Ref the District. So it was
I noticed that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did notice that. And that's why I thought you did a great job, by the way, was also because included in great job, K-Dot, was you not cursing? Was you not going there? Was you not doing all that stuff? Because that, people don't know it, that takes energy to have to restrain yourself and filter while you're going live. Like I thought you did an absolutely awesome job, buddy.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just you trying to get in the groove. Like I started off with a joke. Didn't think the joke landed. It's just like, oh, how's it gonna be? How's this one gonna be?
What was the joke again?
I don't remember. I think it was a K-Dot joke. Because they were calling me K-Dot, but not that K-Dot. So I said something like, yeah, I'm not that K-Dot. I don't want any smoke with my Maple Leaf brothers from up north.
Oh, okay.
And it was like, that is way too wordy. I'm talking to one dude who immediately said that he was not, he did not have the bona fides to be involved or have a take on the rat beef. So I'm like, know your audience. Fuck. All right. You know what? We're going to slow roll the humor. You know what I'll do? I'm just going to be animated sometimes.
For what it's worth, I would have batted that back and forth with you, bud. You know that.
I appreciate it. That's why it worked. We got that chemistry. But it's like,
it's true.
Yeah, anytime. So that was the other thing is when they told me that I could leave whenever. But my thought is like, as long as it's under 2 hours, I'm going to stick it through.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, he's bringing the house down. He's going to stick around.
Well, it was mainly just because I was like, I need to show that I'm comfortable. So like, I don't know how long it's going to take, but I need to show that I'm comfortable. I need to prove that I'm comfortable and to have people say, hey, we should totally listen to Ref. And Nathan's like, his whole soliloquy about us was awesome.
Dude, it was really kind of him. And also the way he runs the show, man, the transitions. I know we're cutting a promo for them, but it's well deserved. Like it was really, really fun to listen to. And also Trev being able to say, this was last season, this is this season, these are the differences I see. Like it was honestly very, very fun to listen to. I really enjoyed. They have a great thing going.
Game is legit. The ad reads.
He's also doing all the stuff. Like, you know, the ad reads were hilarious. Like the transition, I was laughing just because I'm used to hosting.
I was laughing my ass off at every ad read.
Yeah, the no sleep thing was awesome.
It was dope. He did a great job. And look, as I'm learning now here on this end, but doing the production stuff, we're on this side. Because we actually had a really good conversation with those guys after we finished potting. Yeah. About like he's definitely offering help because we're using the same platform that they are now. But it's just, you get to a point where it's like, yeah, you're going to have to get a producer. Cause it's like, I'm even right here, like doing this. It's a lot. It's a lot to contend with trying to do the show, to listen to what your co-host is saying, to make sure that there's sometimes I absolutely have checked out.
Oh yeah. No, that's totally fine. So, but that, to me, that messiness is part of the fun.
I like it. Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, like when we said the very first, the Brandon Sosna or the Brad Holmes clip, take a listen, and I lean back and it's still not playing. And you're like, oh, hold on. And I was like, yeah, take your time. Whenever you're ready. Like that's part of the fun, you know?
My shitty mouse, my Amazon Basics mouse, it goes to sleep a lot. So
Okay.
Like, so I'm like, I have it hovered over, like I'm ready to go, and it clicking. Damn it.
Do it.
Like a thing.
Well, anyway, it was awesome. It was awesome to watch. Thought you killed it in this episode too. And even when there were the like one or two missteps, I fucking enjoyed it. Like that's the beauty of this one. Now to see if any copyright things come up, given how much stuff we share. Very excited to see what YouTube says about that one. So we got to go now.
Stay safe out there in Clarendon, A-Train.
A-Train's going to be with me.
Stay
We're
safe.
just going to dinner.
We're
just going to dinner. Okay. Wow. All right. Cool. We'll
and
see you guys
test.
later.
Do you have test kits?
Take it easy,
Everything.
everybody. Take it easy. Thoroughly appreciate you guys.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
In DC, we're just hoping that you listen.